We had a birthday party from Uncle Louie who lives in the front. And Uncle Louie is actually one of the original members of Suicidal Tendencies.
Is he playing bass on Institutionalized?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. And actually, he actually did a remake in Spanish a few years back. It's institutionalized but in Spanish. So yeah, it's pretty dope.
Hello and welcome to Here in LA, Venice Edition. Venice Edition? Yes, we made it out of Hollywood. 13 episodes are in the books for Hollywood. This is episode number 1 for Venice. Now that Jordan and I know what we're doing, expect to hear about a half dozen voices from each of the neighborhoods around LA, and then we will move on to the next one. Today we are talking to Mike Bravo, aka the Chicano Tony Stark. Mike's family have been Venetians for nearly 100 years. We talk about gentrification, German in Venice, the first Baptist Church of Venice, and the billionaire who wants to tear it down and build a multi-lot mega mansion. We also talk about weed, Mike Bonin, the lack of rock venues on the Westside, and if there are any food spots on the boardwalk that he can recommend. So please let's welcome Mike Bravo. Thank you for inviting me to your backyard.
For sure.
I see a little doggy. What's your little doggy's name?
That's Maui.
Maui?
Maui the demi-dog.
I see some squirrels back here.
Yeah, there's squirrel friends right here. I got like a squirrel family that I always make sure I leave water out, especially during the summertime, because people forget we're in a drought, and a lot of times the animals, they suffer a lot. There's less, water resources, so it's good to kind of leave water out for whether it's the birds or the squirrels or miscellaneous creatures that walk through here.
Now I'm talking to you for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, because you are 5th generation Venice.
Right.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
So tell me, as far back as your family goes in Venice, that makes it what, great grandparents?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I've shared that picture. If you look in that kitchen right there, I have like a little picture of my grandma's, a postcard. I have some T-shirts too, but yeah, there's a postcard. I'll show you later. It's a picture of them. It's my grandma, my great grandma, my great great grandma at the Venice boardwalk with like a little stylized background. Like the little photo drop they had back in the day, but 1926. And so they were around Venice before that, because a lot of agricultural work around here. A lot of the trains will come through. I don't know what company, not Dole, but one of those old school crop companies or whatever. So canneries and things of that nature. So that's what they did, and they eventually got this house in like late, I'm saying like 49, 48, around there. Yeah. So.
And where did they come from?
So before that, they were living in Las Cruces, Mexico, which is where my great grandma was born. And then when they came to Venice, my great grandma was probably maybe 12, 13, if that. You know what I mean? And but before that, Michoacan, Mexico. Yeah.
One thing that I noticed right away with you is you've got these what do you call these? They're not earrings.
They're technically called earplugs.
Earplugs.
Oh yeah, earplugs / eyelets. Yeah.
Eyelets.
Yeah.
And they're big. What gauge is this you got going?
This is a not inch and a half, what, inch and 5/8 maybe, which is just a notch above an inch and 3/4. Yeah, no, an inch and a half. So yeah, an inch and 5/8.
They're big.
Yeah.
They're big.
Especially when they're white too, and they're like just yeah.
What does it represent? What are you trying to say? What should people get when they see this?
I never really intend to be like a statement per se. It was more just kind of like going with like a natural inclination. So of course this is associated with Native culture.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, indigenous. If you look a lot of like the Aztec, Mayan, Inca cultures back in the day, they they have like not this exact style, but different the flares or different areas, and they did in Africa too, a little different style. So it's more of since I was young, even when I was in Catholic school, I would pierce my ears, but my mom didn't want it, and then two, you couldn't have earrings in Catholic school. So what I would do is my older sister taught me how to do this. Was basically I would get like a pierce my ears with like a little bobby pin or whatever, or the safety pin, and then get like a clean piece of straw, like from a broom or whatever, clean off alcohol, whatever, and then a little Neosporin, and just make it real small and just throw it in there. So like when I was walking to school, like, yeah, I'm rocking my earring. You know what I mean? But when I get home, like I'm taking this shit off. You know. So, but I've always been inclined, you know, like in my teenage years, like just I have 3, 4. You know what I mean? In my nose, just kind of like I had this kind of inclination to pierce myself all the time. So I kind of just kept going with it. So
So your mom didn't want any ear piercing.
yeah, or tattoos.
And you've got one of the biggest earplugs I've seen.
Yeah.
And you've got tattoos all up and down your arm.
Yeah, yeah.
Has your mom chilled out on this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, over the years. So I'm 46 now. But when I was like,
Get out of town.
yeah.
You look fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man.
You look 26.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
What?
Yeah. Minus a few backaches, you know, and a couple of muscle strains. I feel, you know, like 26. But yeah.
Very impressive.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Very impressive.
Yeah. So like when I first got my first tattoo, which was I think this tattoo right here, which actually his ex-wife did years back. She's you know, she has a tattoo shop here on Lincoln, the oldest tattoo shop in Venice. Actually.
What's it called?
Ink Tattoo.
Ink. Venice and what?
No, it's off of Lincoln Boulevard, right before you get to. It's like Lincoln and Lake, essentially, next to the old Cafe 50s, the longest running tattoo shop in Venice. Yeah.
That Cafe 50 shut down, right?
Yeah, maybe about. I want to say about 5, 6 years ago now. It's been a minute. Yeah.
Did you cry?
No, but very disappointed because that was one of the very few, I say, least hipsterlandia type food spots. And you go there, people know you, the food's good, nice little all-American, you know, pancakes, breakfast, and, you know, lunch or whatever, and good place for a date. You know, it was just nice, good, like, you know, like it's a 50 styles bar. So you would imagine, like, how you see in the movies, like, where people hanging out at 50 style bars. It was like a mini, every time you went there, it was like a mini version of Greece or something. It felt just kind of like just cool and nice community spot.
So let's talk about gentrification real quick, because I didn't realize you were 46. So
Yeah.
I'm 54.
Okay.
So I moved here when I was 18.
Okay.
And Venice in the 80s was perfect for me.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, because Santa Monica was a little too
Yeah.
clean and shiny.
Yeah.
And nobody would have.
Well, it depends what area of Santa Monica, but yeah, that's that overall.
But I would even say, up,
Like
for a
peak-
while.
Yeah.
For even if you were on this side of the 10,
Yeah.
it was still a little grungy.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't even consider south of the 10 Santa Monica.
Yeah.
I considered it Venice.
Oh, yeah, okay.
As soon as you
Oh, yeah.
cross the
That's South Santa Monica. Yeah.
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 And people had to correct me and say I was wrong, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Well,
that's fine.
Well, because I mean, it's funny because one, like, I mean, just I guess the whole West Side in general, like they share. There's a lot of areas where it blurs, you know. But nothing as far. But Santa Monica and Venice have a very intimate history as well because a lot of the folks when that freeway was built, a lot of people who moved to Venice in what like the late '60s or '70s. Around that time, they moved over here, you know. So I mean, they're very close. A lot, you know, like the First Baptist Church of Venice that we've been fighting for. It was actually the Second Baptist Church of Santa Monica.
Oh.
And then when they came to Venice, it became the First Baptist Church of Venice. So, but things like that, it's very intimately connected. And yeah, it's really interesting.
Tell me about this fight.
Well, it's the First Baptist Church of Venice. It was the fight started back in late 2017, which is when I jumped on to help out. You know, I was already involved in like just general anti-gentrification. You know, finding different developments, kind of, you know, putting out a bunch of fires, so to speak. And so when this came, I was just kind of, I was coming out of a bad breakup, so I was kind of just, you know, taking a few months off and just kind of just all over the place. But long story short, yeah, so we've been fighting it. And originally, you know, this, you know, crooked pastor, he sold it, you know, sold the property, 7-lot property, probably the oldest and, you know, black property in the neighborhood.
It was a black church.
It's black church, yeah, the oldest black church in Venice.
And so he sold it to who?
He sold it to the Penskes. So Jay Penske, the son of Roger Penske, you know, media, oil conglomerate, whatever, racing car, all that stuff too, billionaire. And so his son, at the time, I think he was on the verge of being a billionaire. He's a billionaire now, owner of Rolling Stone, Variety, all that stuff, whatever. So we were battling them for maybe about 3.5 years until they sold it last year to one of their associates. But to us, it's, you know, it's still in developer gentrification hands, so it's still the same. But yeah, you know, I've been holding them off for the last 3, almost 4 years now. But like I say, against the odds of, you know, obviously he's a billionaire. His wife's a Victoria's Secret model. She's probably fluent in her own right, and against the neighborhood council, against the city council, against the local council people, person at the time who eventually turned over.
So all those people did not want Penske to turn this into.
No, all those people wanted them. We were against. They were against us the whole time. These
So
people,
the politicians and the billionaire wanted to turn the oldest black church into.
their personal mansion to raise their family.
How far away from the beach is this church?
This it's probably about it's I would say it's maybe about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe about less than 10 blocks. So we're 6, 7, 8, maybe about 8 blocks from the beach. Yeah, in the middle of the like I said, the historic black community
And
right here.
you said 6 or 7 lots.
7 lots.
So where we're at right now is 1 lot.
Yeah, this is 1 lot.
And this is big, man.
Yeah,
This is a really big lot.
yeah.
Which I've been to some.
You've been to Oakwood Park before. You know where Oakwood Park is at, right?
Yep.
So the church right across the street, that big, huge, A-frame church.
The lots in Venice are big because you'll have usually a main house up front, and then you'll have either a garden or you've got some other structures, and then you'll have a big garage.
Yeah.
That abuts the alleyway.
Right.
So that's 1 lot, which maybe it's like a 1/4 acre, something like that.
Yeah.
And so you're saying 7 times that,
Yeah, 7 lots.
and he wants to just have 1 giant house there.
Yeah.
Is the church still standing?
It's still standing. It's been like dilapidated, which is also a it's kind of like the MO of a lot of developers around here. Like a lot of times they can't demo, or if they don't demo it the way they want to get their way, they'll like purposely let it get dilapidated, and may sometimes get people to enhance the dilapidation, and that way, oh well, we have this, it's termites, we have this, we have that, it's irreparable, whatever, we need to demo it. Okay, yeah, and a lot of times they have their folks, yeah, we'll just sign off, which is usually how it goes, but we have a good team of people, and like I said, a lot of strong prayers and blessings and opportunities to advance on our prayers, and yeah, so I mean, we've been able to stop them, and we don't have the property. It's not in our hands yet, but it's about to get historic designation to LA City, which, like I said, it's not the end all be all, but it definitely puts a major damper in any developers' ideas for the properties.
Sounds like you are fighting this cause because you have seen, and your family has seen, Venice just house by house, block by block, get turned from what Venice used to be into, now it looks like a billionaire's dream.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's well, like the last 10 years we've been in the mode what we call hyper gentrification, but definitely it's a lot more homogenized, whether it's economically, racially. Usually, the racial and economic patterns go hand in hand. Usually, you might get some working class black and brown folks, but they essentially have kind of more of a Anglo aspiring type of comfortability level as far as like how they act. They don't really relate to a lot of the local black and brown folks here. Not that they can't be different or they can't be fluent, but like it's says a lot when you come to places and you can't relate to your own people. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. So yeah, with the church, I mean, for me, like say, I do a lot of native activism, spiritual activism, education work. That's more my core, the youth education work. But a lot of that, it's knowing your history, knowing about where you're at on the land, talking about land right here, pre Los Angeles, pre California, pre Mexico, all that. It's end of the day, it's native land, and natives are still here. So to acknowledge the Tongva people of this area, and so like a lot of the fights has been for sacred sites, whether it's the Bauna wetlands down there at the Playa Vista complex built over burial grounds. History's always been erased, so the fact that we really, I relate to protecting sacred sites, and if you understand how white supremacy works, even though, like for instance, like there's a big gang war back in the 90s here, black and Mexicans, probably one of the worst black and brown Mexican on black gang wars probably in the country, if not the worst. But anyway, so there's a lot, but given that, there's always been still a lot of love despite, that happened, like in the 90s, the crack, the poverty, you get all these elements that are very combustible, and then you put people in this little pocket, and of course stuff like that's going to happen.
Did anybody win that war?
The developers did. LAP won that war, gentrification won.
I watched one of your YouTube videos where you were going on a rant.
Which one?
You were in your room, and it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And one of the people that you were raging out against was German in Venice.
Oh, yeah.
And what interested me...
I thought I was raging. I've been very critical, passionately critical, but I don't know if I was raging, yeah.
I don't mean to over-dramatize.
Yeah. No, but for sure.
But it surprised me because when I watch German in Venice, I see this kind of lovable guy who immigrated here from Germany like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He's got a very quaint little tent, or not tent, but he's got a little storefront on the boardwalk.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, someone mentioned that store.
Where he does henna tattoos.
Oh, I know that.
And he shoots videos almost every day. About Venice.
Yeah.
And homelessness. I guess his focus a lot
Lately,
recently has been homelessness, and so he'll talk to homeless people here, MacArthur Park, even in Beverly Hills. I saw one.
Yeah, Echo Park too. I think he's been there.
And so I kind of like him because I would rather see certain things through his point of view than your traditional news where it's got like a guy in a suit and all that. Yeah. But it seems like you're not the only critic of German in Venice.
Oh no, yeah.
So tell me what I'm missing when I watch.
And I'll say I agree with you too. Because we see him like I watched his videos like this a guy that very very distinct personality, very charismatic, and
he likes Michael Jackson.
Yeah. I mean he's very his personality, and he's a very nice guy, and they're very friendly, and it's kind of hard not to it's kind of hard to dislike him. So I don't dislike him on a personal level. It's more just his impact. You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at his audience on YouTube, 95% are just like these right-wing, garbage, racist people,
So if I read the comments, I would see...
Yeah, which is his audience, that he's, in the last, 5 months or so, since he stumbled upon this, homeless topic, he started getting all these extra views, but of course, all this right-wing, the bulk of them.
So do we blame him for the bad comments?
No, but it's what I don't like about it, it's ultimately like, if you're doing things and you're a nice guy, but you're giving a platform and you're kind of catering to this very distinctly racist, classist audience, that's your impact. You know what I mean? And like for instance, like the one brother who got killed, Mike Hall, like a week or two ago, right? And rest in peace. He came to the memorial late. I was there with the family, and
German came to the.
Yeah, he came late. Whatever. He's working now. Not that he has to be at every place, whatever. But he's just a vlogger or whatever. But he made a video about it, and then he posted it up, and of course it's the same, bulk, anti-homeless, racist, classist, sorry about the squirrels there. I guess they were people in the audience or in his comment section were disrespecting the family, kind of clowning to him. Like, dude, like, okay, if you're real about respecting the homeless and just you want to just share whatever, like, don't give space to those motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like,
so turn off the comments then.
I'm about to turn off the comments, but if someone's on there talking about, okay, someone just died, like the mom's there, whatever, like that too, and you got someone talking about, well, the mom knew that he was living in a camper, how they could let her do that, and they use not so nice words about, like, dude, like, there's no place for that, like, you can have your opinion about homelessness, that's fine, but like, she's lost her son, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you're gonna allow, like, just delete that comment and boom, like, just don't let people.
So he should moderate his comments.
He should moderate his comments for sure, and be mindful of his audience. You know what I mean? So and also too, because he did also. I mean, I can go on, but like another point is because he claims he's been here 30 years. Maybe he has. I don't know. But he did there's a video where a friend of mine who's just a general gentrification activist, homeless activist out here, and she was like cussing him out and. Had her face, whatever, her hand.
That was your friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, she might be a little extra with them, but whatever. I mean, but, and other elders and folks from the neighborhood, generational people as well, were out there, and, people who've been activists for decades. And one, he didn't know who these people were. And then two, in the video, he was referencing them as, like, those people or them or whatever. Two, like, and these are people of color, one, and then people, multi-generational residents who are also activists for, like, decades. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you've been here for 30 years, and you don't know who these people are, and you're referring to them, and they don't like you, you know what I mean? That's like, and you're not repping Venice. You might live for 30. I mean, to be in Venice for 30 years, and it's like Venice is small, but it's still kind of a big place for being a small place, right? So if you've been here for 30 years and you're around, your social, whatever, if you're a real Venice person, you're gonna know at least not necessarily buddy with people, but you can know who's who for the most part and whatever, you know. And so if you don't know who Lydia is, you don't know who these other elders are in the community. It's like that speaks a lot to the crowd that you hang out with for 30 years. You're in a very distinct racial and economic little pocket, you know what I mean? So, and people, again, just me, us being fifth generation, I'm a lot more critical about people who claim to be from Venice and maybe a gatekeeper in a sense, but not like, I don't think I'm irrational or or extra about it. Just plain just be who you are, don't fake the funk, you know what I mean? And basically what it comes down to, and if like I said, he's been here 30 years and he doesn't know any of these people, and he's letting like these folks getting bashed, like I said, generational black and brown folks who are struggling to help their community survive. Like, who's his narrative really catering to? Yeah.
Well, you raise an excellent point.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I've been here since the 80s.
Yeah.
And when I realized that I don't know as much as you would think I would know for being here for so long.
Yeah. Even myself, too. I
created this podcast. Because I was like, I think I know about Venice.
Yeah.
But how can you if you don't live there?
Yeah.
How can you if you don't talk to the people?
Yeah.
How can you if you don't talk to strangers?
Right.
And so maybe that is the lesson that we want to give to German in Venice.
Yeah.
That if your heart's in the right place, we don't know.
Yeah. I don't think he has. I mean, for the most part, like I said, I don't hate him. Like when I see him, I'm cordial with him. I don't talk shit about him like that. I'm very critical of his role. Like say, and this thing, we're talking about racism or politics. Like there's intent and impact. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, you'll see a lot of times, like when people get called for racism, celebrities get called for racism. It's like, oh, well, I didn't intend for this, but like, racism is never intentional. You don't have to have ill will or intention to be a racist or reinforce racist, paradigms.
Let's talk about the LA Sheriff Department because they've been accused of a lot of things.
Oh yeah,
and there's been banners that have been flown over the 10 freeway that says Google
LASD gangs.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people are saying that the sheriff himself is racist. Now, the sheriff came to Venice a couple weeks ago, even though this really isn't his jurisdiction.
Right.
I mean, sheriffs can go wherever they want, but when there is already LAPD, they're supposed to kind of stand back a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too, but it's especially when it comes to Venice Beach, there's like multiple jurisdictions going on. The actual boardwalk, the concrete part, is LA City. That's actually, a lot of people refer to Venice Beach as a park. The boardwalk, it's not. The actual concrete is actually an LA street, right? Once you walk onto like the grass, that becomes county property. Not only is it county, it's California coastal property too. So even just so you know, like everything within 1 mile of the coast is under a special protection because it's within what they call a coastal zone. So everything PCH and West is afforded extra protection in terms of development. There's a lot more protections in general. But so technically, the agreement in general with Boardwalk is that LAPD takes care of the general policing, law enforcement of that area, and then the county does like the maintenance, the park maintenance, and the beaches and what have you like that. So
the sheriff was in the right to if the tents were on the grass.
Yeah.
Then it was okay for him to come here. But he probably should have coordinated it better.
Well, one is he's stepping on toes. There's no agreement, so everything that was already done. There's already, like I said, there's a stipulation with the county, the coastal, where there's beaches and harbors, parks and rec, LAPD, city, county. So that's been the program. So he kind of came in just like, it's like we're doing an interview and then some guy comes in and like starts sticking a microphone and like does his own interview in the middle of your interview type of thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what's going on too. And but I think regards law enforcement, from my understanding anyway, law enforcement has a right to enforce the law of the area regardless. So like if some guy from like let's say Mississippi comes a cop over here and like he sees someone breaking the law, they knows the law in the area, he has the right to go in. He has the ability and the jurisdiction to enforce that law in the area. But the thing is, there's lawsuits going on over here. Like the Jones lawsuit, as well as the Martin versus Boise, which is a Supreme Court decision, basically saying that like you can't arrest or criminalize people for not having a house if you don't have affordable housing, And the Jones kind of reinforces that same thing. That's more specific to LA City.
And that's what some people say encouraged people to pitch tents during coronavirus because Project Room Key really wasn't working.
Yeah.
And and there just weren't beds for these people.
Yeah.
But then when the vaccines happened, the sheriff decided, look, I don't agree with him, but he was basically saying the cops aren't handling this. Mike Bonin's not handling this properly. I'm going to come in here and handle it. Do you agree with what happened when the sheriff swept, quote unquote, the people away?
Well, I don't know if he was even the one to really sweep. I know he might help to facilitate a few people to, the deficient services that are available. You know what I mean? But it was more of a show. I don't think he really actually did anything. If anything, he just got other agencies. He probably put a spotlight maybe on these other agencies and their deficiencies, but they're all. It's kind of hard to really say things for certain, but sometimes I feel like they're just all playing this little fucked up game that we're all losing at, But
well, he would say the tents are gone.
Well, I mean, a lot of that's been LAPD and the city. I think that hasn't been. Like I said, he might have like came in and like I don't know. It's just sometimes it just seems like it's kind of like it reminds you of like that. What's the what's that BC Boy song? Posse, not Posse on Broadway. I'm thinking
I love the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
What album are you talking about?
The first one. We're talking about me and MCA.
Me.
Paul Revere.
Paul Revere.
Paul Revere. So he's like he tells a story that was sounding well rehearsed, whatever, and like they're a friend. All of a sudden they come like they're in cahoots. So it's like it has like a similar effect. That's the thing is like these fools kind of sound like they're kind of complimenting each other's moves over here. I don't know, like just whatever. You got to entertain a lot of different things.
So maybe the sheriff, by overstepping his bounds, made the police embarrassed a little bit, made the LAPD embarrassed, and then the LAPD kind of. Do you think the LAPD did the right thing?
Well, the thing is, I mean, because it's first of all, there's no housing, right? And like they keep saying, and oh yeah, we're getting these housing. The sheriff said it. Bond even said it. He had to correct himself, and LAPD or whatever. Like we're getting
these little tiny houses. There's no place for. So where do you think these people went?
So there's shelters, but there's no housing.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a huge difference.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. So a lot of times these programs they don't last like that's gonna last 2 years. What's it the bridge home or whatever? All these programs are very.
I'm looking at a tool shed you got back here. Mm-hmm. They might consider this housing for a homeless person.
Yeah.
I mean, a tool shed.
Yeah. I mean,
and you're saying real housing is where you live.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like people can have small houses, but like real, like permanent housing, not like okay, something's gonna be affordable or whatever. It's not there.
I love Venice, and I want to be a good person whenever I visit Venice. Are there places that I can eat at or shop at that you would recommend that would honor and respect and support people who believe in your causes? Either they're OG Venice people, or they're not gentrifiers. What do you recommend that we do?
Yeah, so people like basically who are within principle, you know what I mean? So there's like newer spots that are like, people would consider like, gentrifier spots, but, like just people who've shown solidarity as opposed to charity, and so, but, Hoagie's for sure, generational family there, old school spots right here on Lincoln, Hoagie's, the Great Western Steak and Hoagie Company, great hamburgers, Hoagie's and all that, La Fiesta Brava right here on, Hampton, across, just a quarter block from the Rose Cafe. I like Flake as far as like, Rose Avenue goes. A lot of old school folks go there too. It's still kind of not geared towards, local. Well, it kind of is. I mean, it's a little, it's pricey for original Venice standards, but it's still, it's a good spot. I go and I feel home and people say hello and I don't feel like, there's no like shade there for me. You know what I mean? So
Are there any Mexican spots?
well, the La Fiesta Brava.
Oh,
It's probably the last as far as I can think of, as far as like organic oriented, organic principled family and business. As far as food goes, La Fiesta Brava on Hampton.
Is
and
there
Rose.
anywhere on the boardwalk?
Nah, because those a lot of times those spots they flip owners a lot. Those tattoo places or where a lot of times they flip owners and food wise, yeah, not really, dude. I mean, obviously you got Red's Tacos right there on Windward, which is cool. I mean, it's affordable. It's trendy. It's not really like a local spot in terms of like I don't know really what the owner's position is or their role is as far as like supporting or not supporting gentrification agents in the community. So, but as far as general food goes, I like it. It's affordable.
How do you feel about Harry, the rollerblading guitar player who's been here?
Oh, he's cool. I mean, he's kind of he's kind of quiet and kind of keeps himself. A little snooty, I think sometimes. Or I mean, no judgment. I mean, it's his personality, but I mean, he's definitely an icon. So I like him for his role and his icon. You gotta respect him for just the icon that he is. Regardless of his if his personality might rub people the wrong way.
Because he's always trying to sell you something?
No, just 'cause a lot of times like I might say hi, he wouldn't even like or he just kind of just he won't say hi or take a picture with you unless you like And but even as a little kid, he was like that too. So it's like,
well, he's definitely there to get the tourists to.
yeah, which is cool. I say that's his business. That's how he's made his money. So why switch it up? But at the same time too, like, come on, dude. Like, we're locals, bro. Like,
I remember a number of years ago, the drum circles were the cause of commotion between quote unquote locals,
yeah,
and those who went out there and drummed. But
yeah.
But it almost felt like the people who were complaining were people who had recently bought beachfront property and didn't like.
And this
the
is
noise.
the thing too. Yeah. So the word local, when we hear Venice locals, this or Venice resident, it's a very it's a word that's used very loosely. So a lot of people who are native or have been raised, even been here for a long time, who are within I say they worked from the bottom up, so to speak. Instead of this top down type of residency situation. We don't consider them locals, but technically, okay, they live here, they lived here for a while, some of them, but they're still very disconnected, disassociated with the vibe of the organic community here. So yeah, locals is a very abused word, but yeah, I mean, it's like, it's same in Santa Monica too. Like, people are getting complained about the music of the artists, by the problem. That's like, dude, like, why, like, I don't understand it's really, it's privileged, it's stupid, it's arrogant, it's Venice Beach, or people even like trying to start anti-graffiti campaigns, like, dude, you live on right off the fucking boardwalk, like, why, like, graffiti's like a graffiti mecca, you know what I mean? It's like, and you want to stop graffiti in Venice, like, dude, like,
I remember the pushback when they were against the skateboard park.
Yeah,
and now it turns out the skateboard park perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything about crime over there or even kids getting hurt.
Yeah. No, it's part of the local culture here, and and at the same time too, it's I don't know, it's dope because it's a good example of the Venice culture. It represents the culture in a lot of good ways. But again too, just to kind of bring up racial dynamics too. Like, if it was just black and brown kids skate park, it would be a harder sell. So again, some of the multiculturalism and really pushing, the collective benefit really was what was able to get that pushed through.
Let me ask you about your uncle, one of the original Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah.
One thing that blows my mind about the Westside in general,
mm-hmm.
and this isn't just about Venice.
Mm-hmm.
If Suicidal was around today, starting, I don't think there's a club that would play them.
No.
I don't think there's any venue in Venice that would play them. They'd have to go to Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I mean,
has it been there? Has that been the case as long as you've been here?
Yeah, I mean, most of these bands that come up, like, I don't know, just I'm like I said, just me being local and generational, dude. I'm very critical, hypercritical, and then just knowing my history in general. It's a lot of these bands, like, I don't. Not say people aren't good musicians, but just artists. Because in general, a lot of artists, not all of them, but the bulk of them artists it's an avenue for what they call art washing, gentrification, instant gentrification into neighborhoods and all that too. So like, there's a lot of people coming in, but they're not really. I don't know. Like I said, no judgment on their music. That's their music. That's their art. But it's just not. To me, a lot of it's very kind of just not real to me. It doesn't.
But my question is
Yeah.
about the venues.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like Venice supports local bands. I don't know of any. Are there any rock clubs in Venice right now?
No, dude. There's no music.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, because even now when because one of the bands that my uncle played in afterwards called Horny Toad, Horny Toad band, and they're kind of like punk ska, still like just like a punk ska. Yeah.
I see a sticker over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, right there, exactly. So
Were they? Are there any avenues for them to play in
no,
Venice?
So the point I was gonna make was like a lot of times when they would play, they'd be like, okay, at this spot over here off of Lincoln, or this spot over here off of Rose or whatever. There's always spots that. But now when they play, obviously they're older now. That they don't really, they're not in their heyday anymore. But like, even now they still play shows every so often. But when they do now, they play like in Mar Vista. They have to play like in some like American Legion in Santa Monica, or like that's very on these very outskirts of like just spots that are still not hyper gentrified parts of the West Side. Yeah.
The feeling that I get when I notice that there's no venues in Santa Monica, and it doesn't seem like there's any venues in Venice, is the rich people are saying we don't want rock and roll in our town. We'll allow a mural of Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Huge mural of Jim Morrison. We'll allow all these banners of Bob Marley, these tapestries of Bob Marley. But don't have rock and roll be here. Don't have actual rock and roll be played here.
Yeah, but that's very indicative of the like this phony liberal, phony progressive facade that Venice has. Like I said too. Like okay, for instance, like the Suicidal Tendencies, they're the ones who musically, as far as real Venice bands, who put Venice on the map. So people associate the Doors. The Doors lived here for a while, whatever too, but they're not from Venice. You know what I mean? So it's like as far as
they're a Hollywood band.
yeah. So but you'll see all these murals everywhere of the Doors and like whatever and like that. But how many suicidal murals do you see in Venice? There's none. You know what I'm
There's
saying?
none, really?
There's none. There might be some like some reference like, oh yeah, suicidal or ST or like some like a component of a mural, but not just.
So do we need to go get some spray cans and fix
right,
this
yeah,
problem?
Yeah, to do a suicidal mural somewhere, like of the whole band, like the OG band. But like going back to what I was saying too about like this facade of like using the arts, Venice arts, and just like, it's more for marketing than anything. Like for instance, like over the graffiti walls, like some of these even nonprofit people who might be nice people, whatever, like they'll go and they'll take pictures of diverse culture in Venice, have graffiti background for their pamphlets and their little things, whatever too. But when it comes to supporting the artists or the people who are trying to maintain and hold that cultural spots, who are mostly low income folks for the most part, black and brown kids, inner city kids or whatever, like they're nowhere to be found to defend that space. But it works good for their marketing and their branding and whatever. And same with the music, whatever. Like, oh yeah, it's cool, but as long as you don't encroach on our comfort level for our the very whitewashing, literally whitewashing branding of a lot of the new businesses, like say like on Windward, the main circle on Windward or whatever. They're painting like all the buildings white and just like even name them like El Blanco, just like really just like if all the white buildings and all the white clientele wasn't enough. Okay, yeah.
I think I saw a mural of the Beatles over there.
Maybe, possibly, yeah.
Local Venice band.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Which is fine, but again, there is actual culture in Venice.
Yeah.
And
despite a lot of the whitewashing, a lot of the attempted marginalization, they're still given that assault. There's still a lot of beautiful, genuine spirit still here. It's just a lot of times it's not what you will see in the Argonaut or Yo Venice or any of these self-proclaimed Venice publications, except for the Beachhead. But yeah.
The Beachhead is what you should read if
yeah,
you're not the real story?
For real community news, it's the Free Venice Beachhead, the oldest free publication in the country, actually, and since around since 1968.
Nice.
So yeah.
So the longest in the county.
What?
You said the country.
Oh, country.
1968.
The oldest free publication in the country.
Oh, it's free.
Free.
Oh, I see
Free,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Mike Bonin, because he's in the news a lot.
Yeah.
And it seems like nobody likes him. It seems
Well,
like poor people don't like him, rich people don't like him, nobody likes him.
Well, again, going back to, a lot of the gentrification-oriented media, a lot of people who... Let me give an example. So the bulk of the media locally who doesn't like him, and don't mean, he deserves a lot of criticism. He does a lot of whack shit. You know what I mean? Not to say, believe me. So, but a lot of the local media, when you hear stuff in the news, a lot of the groups and the news sources that are giving him a real hard time, these are the same people who never, in our 4 years fighting for this church over here, despite getting all kinds of mass news coverage, have never covered us. The Argonaut, Yo Venice, Venice Paparazzi, or whatever, other places, So these are the same people who strategically do not share the black and brown, low-income, Venice native narrative. You know what I mean? So these are the same people who are attacking him. So not to say that they're not justified in some of the criticism, but they do overstep, and they come from a very racist, classist orientation as far as their dislike for Bonin. But he definitely deserves a lot of criticism for sure.
Let me ask you about weed.
Okay.
Because
Cannabis.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
Venice was known as that was the place where you could buy weed.
Yeah. Still is.
And when the medical marijuana thing was happening,
Yeah.
I saw dudes in like green vests and stuff roaming the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And I would hear from tourists that they would get ripped off from a lot of these dudes who would say that they're like, well, this is really only if you are Californian.
Yeah.
Can you do this? So what I'll do is I'll work something out. What hotel are you at? We'll pretend that you've just moved here. And for $100, I'll buy you a license, and then you can buy weed wherever you want.
Yeah.
And they did it.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. I mean, whatever. But now that it's truly legal in California, I feel like the weed hype in Venice has kind of died down a lot. Have you noticed that?
Well, because it's legal now. Before, like, you had to go get the doctor and then recommendation, all that little, that little, I say charades. Get your field of medical, recommendation, and then from there, that was just like the place where you get your certificate. And then you would have to go to a dispensary, and then there's all those dispensaries were in fluctuation too. Some were legal, some were not, some were more legal than others, or whatever. And so, but now it's like you basically, it's just legal in California. Anybody who comes here can buy weed as long as they're over 18. They can buy anything anywhere pretty much. And there's like at least like 20 dispensaries here right now too. So
well, one that I noticed over here on Lincoln is MedMen, which I thought had gone out of business.
And there's one in Abbot Kinney too.
Which is kind of like the Apple store of weed stores.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine you would not recommend people go to MedMen.
Nah.
Is there a Venice location that... Do you smoke weed, first of all?
Yeah.
Is there a Venice location that you would give a thumbs up to? Or are they all bad right now?
Oh, well, I mean, I would say they're all bad, but I mean, there's a thing called the Social Equity program through LA City, I believe, the essence of that program is to give a lot of the people who are incarcerated due to marijuana crimes a shot at, having, partaking in the marijuana cannabis business, and that whole windfall. So locally, there's people who are part of that program who've been sidelined for whatever reasons, and so you have two MedMen. You have other people. Not say that other people aren't good people, or whatever, but it's like they keep giving opportunities to people who are not native. Which again, it's all just kind of just like it was
lip service.
Yeah, it's lip service. Like I say, it's kind of just a more low-key perpetuation of this racist and classist gentrification process.
So as far as you know, there's no black or brown owners of
I think
stores
I think
in Venice.
Lately, I think from my understanding, lately they started to put a couple of social equity applicants into the mix, but people not from the area. Again, we want to see black and brown people who've been deprived of economic opportunity in that genre, but at the same time, too, you got to start with the locals. Otherwise, you're just perpetuating this outside, top-down model, And a lot of times these people, at least from my perspective, the ones I know of, for the most part, the ones who do have like this, a black or brown social equity applicant at the forefront, they're basically vassals of these bigger kind of cannabis industry representatives and stuff. So it's not genuine and it's not real. But I do have a homie who has a shop over. It's not a cannabis shop. It's a CBD shop over on Abbott Kinney and Washington Boulevard. It's called CBD on Abbott. It's a CBD only, but they're working on getting a cannabis storefront. So that's a good business to support as far as that type of business goes.
So we have found a place on Abbott Kinney that we can recommend.
Yeah, but it's off of the main scene, so to speak.
It's more south.
Yeah, more. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, you've been great. Where can people follow you if they want to hear more from you?
I have a website, bravoforvenice.com. That's where most of my kind of like political, local type of stuff is found. Of course, my Instagram and Twitter handle, OGBravo1. And I got multiple websites, but those are my main, I guess, digital access points.
Mr. Bravo, thank you so much for letting me spend some time with you today.
Thank you.
In your beautiful backyard.
Yeah, with my squirrels.
With your squirrels and your little doggy. Your doggy's chilled out in the sun over there. I see a Raiders banner over there.
Yeah.
I see Lakers and Kings.
Yeah.
I don't see any Clippers.
Nah, I know. That mirror was...
Are you guys against the Clippers?
Nah. I don't keep up with sports. My uncle's more the sports guy. So, but my homie did those little graffiti artwork like maybe... Almost it's been at least about 8 years maybe he did that.
Those are really good.
Yeah.
Old school Kings crown over there.
Yeah. No, definitely.
That's really talented.
Yeah, my homie Jigs, he old school graffiti artist, LA. Probably one of the most old school writers on the Westside. He did that work for my uncle. So shout out to Jigs one.
Right on. Thank you, Mike.
For
I
sure,
really
brother.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
man. Appreciate you.
All right. Oh my God, wasn't that good? You know what else is good? Our Patreons who warm our cockles. When you stoke us, you're saying, Tony, Jordan, here's a taco. Here's a mani-pedi. Here's an entire deep dish pizza. Oh my God. Every dollar you flow our way goes right back into what you're hearing today and helps us keep this insane project rolling. So shout out to our Patreons, Nancy Rommelman, Allie Miller, Sean Atlow, Matt Mills, Sean Wallace, Greg and Molly, Emilio, Jamie Taylor, George Wright, Mark Johnson, and Kira Ann. Want to hear your name at the end of next week's show? Go to patreon.com/hereinla and give till it hurts. We're also starting a new thing. You've heard of angel investors. Those are the people who get in early and stoke a new venture. This just happens to be a new venture. We're going to call our angel investors Angelinos. To be an Angelino, all you have to do is PayPal us $25 or more, and we will list you on the Here in LA website forever. You'll also be given a number to denote how early you got in to make this dream come alive. For example, Angelino number 1 is Allie Miller. Number 2 is George Wright. Just PayPal your hard-earned cash to bustblog@gmail.com. Here in LA is produced by myself, Tony Pierce, and the original inspiration for John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, Jordan Katz. Editing, mixing, and music supervision by Jordan Katz. Songs by Orgone and Jordan Katz. We usually put out new episodes whenever Jordan thinks it's reasonable. And when we do, we have a corresponding blog post that goes with each and every interview that can be found at hereinla.com. We also make kind of funny little video commercials that you can find at our Instagram, which is instagram.com/hereinla. Special thanks to Cindy for creating the logo, Jen Adams for inspiring me to do this in Kim and Oz's backyard, Jordan for last week's quick turnaround, and all the activists and homies who fight the good fight to keep this city beautiful.
Don't forget to vote!